Costello.
Here.
Commissioner Mayo.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Quorum is present. Approval of agenda.
And we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comments and or questions?
Okay, I am Dave Overholt, Sidney, Michigan, resident of Montcalm County for 20-some years, 8 years. Anyway, I'm curious again here, I've been here in front of you guys many a time over the same issues. It's 12 years now into medical marijuana. Recreational is around the corner and has actually been applied in several other communities around us. I know a few board members have requested this on the agenda to discuss these issues, but still month after month, there's nothing on the agenda. I've visited your city manager's office on 2 occasions to ask him to address this issue. Obviously with no results, so I'm here again asking where you're at. Recently, another city close to us, Lowell, Michigan, has opted into recreational, and this past week I sold 2 properties in that community for over $2 million. Which were only worth about half of that, if lucky. So their tax values are shooting right up. That's the city of Lowell's, obviously. But our streets are empty, and we're not selling anything, and they're dead. And there's an opportunity here, and our law enforcement in this community is nil because of our budget crisis. Our accident rates, fatality rates in this county have went up drastically. They're gonna ask for a millage increase. I don't know anybody here is probably gonna vote for it. This is an answer to relieve some of those problems in this county, and it starts right here in Stanton. Montcalm Township is doing a survey now, whether they're gonna allow medical in. The time has come to address these issues. 12 years, I think you have enough information out there to see what's happening around the state and what's going on. And if your city manager can't get it done, I suggest we look for a new city manager. Because I know it's been addressed here several occasions, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be looked into. In another 30 or 40 days, recreational will take hold. And the ability with these people that are here today looking for business opportunities in rural community, they're going to the easiest trough to feed at. And obviously this county isn't, because there's today still 0 any opt-ins. And with the people being able to run and vote a referendum to override their commissions or their townships, that's being tied up in court right now through the Republican Party, so everything's kind of on hold. I'm still here today asking, are you going to put out a public discussion on this? Are you going to stand overwhelmingly voted for recreational? When do we start listening to the will of the people? And then I think my 3 minutes are up.
Yep, thank you, Dave.
It's public comments, not.
Yeah, we can't address until commissioner comments. So on to standing items. Approval of commission meeting minutes for August 13th, 2019.
I would just like to make note that it's old-fashioned days, not old-fashioned days. Just for education.
Well, in that case, I'd like to point out that it's Veterans Memorial Park, not Veterans Park. We corrected an apostrophe, but we can't go memorial.
So long we're talking about things. We got those on so far, right? In paragraph 5 of the minutes, line 6, it talks about the city manager thanking Habitat for groundbreaking. Habitat is not capitalized, it's a generic habitat. I think it should be thanking for Habitat for Humanity. That's what we're talking about. It's not just habitat, we're talking about that. So I think the habitat should be capitalized and add after that for humanity. Because that's what we're thinking. Not just habitat.
Where at, Chuck?
Line 6 of paragraph 5A, line 6. Says thank you to Habitat. Habitat should be capitalized.
Okay, okay.
And then after that, put for humanity, so it would be Habitat for Humanity. Concord.
Are there any other corrections?
One comment on number 10, it just reads kind of funny. I don't think there needs to be a comma after the word fellow. And then I think a new sentence starts with everyone. And with that, with those corrections, I make a motion to approve the minutes from August 13th.
That's great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to the approval of bill payments for the month of August 2019 and the total amount of $64,258.62.
I just had 2 questions, just things I didn't recognize. What was interstate billing service? For repair maintenance, $763.92.
I would have to go get the billing to know what that is. I don't know right offhand.
And then underneath that, Brayton Homes LLC, capital outlay.
That's for the repairs of Men's Park roof.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve
Jamie?
If I might, what was the first one? you-
Interstate
Interstate?
Interstate billing service,
for $7.
$763.92 for repair and maintenance.
Go ahead. Jamie Dunny's gonna vote. Did you make the motion
Yes,
to
I'd like
first?
to make a
Okay.
motion to pay the bills as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and on to monthly reports. Chief, do you have anything for us?
Any questions on my report at all? Well, I have nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Question for you, if you don't mind. On your report, all this is within the city, or is there a way for us to see what's done outside the city? I know you have some assists, things like that.
Yeah, I usually do a breakdown of what we do, but I think there were 2 calls we handled. One call on Colby Road with the state, combative person. And we had a disturbance here in town, they helped us with, we got EMS. But up in the next month, I'll have that for the
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jamie, do you have anything additional for DPW?
I don't, thank you.
Question for Jamie. Jamie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On your, towards the last line, and I'm not seeing it in front of me right now, but
That's one
there was
information.
like, in the fun facts, there was like 2 million gallons of treated sewage, more than what there was for the water that's pumped.
Sure.
I mean, is that a normal?
Those numbers don't necessarily correlate. We hold wastewater for great periods of time. The drinking water is pretty typical daily, so the wastewater fluctuates. We can pump 300,000 gallons a day, 73 million gallons a year, but it's not necessarily on us at a given time.
So a lot of the surface runoff kind of thing.
Yeah, rainwater makes a difference, and of course, but, yeah, we hold different lengths of time, different times of the month, so it doesn't necessarily correlate.
Okay, thank you.
Esther, do you have anything to add on this?
Yes. So within the last week, I've gotten a few commissioners' questions about certain things that going on here at the city. One is about blight on Campbell Street, police. Stanton PD is looking into it. Also, the leak back engine repair, one that was out of commission. I think Jamie pointed it out when we had a work session over there. That's not a priority at this time. Getting the old leak back up and running is running with one that we recently purchased. So that's not our priority right now. Also, the power generator, we're still looking to get a quote on installation for the power generator over at the well house. Another question was about marijuana and the city, within the city and whatnot. What I'm looking for is more so city council commission direction on, as Mr. Elmore Holt discussed. There's a lot of information out there. I think I provided you all with a package of information at the time. So you all want to move forward and look into an ordinance or something along those lines. Just take a vote if you want me to have it on the next agenda. I can do that as well.
Can I ask you something about this marijuana? You're gonna have to seek legal advice on myself as a pharmacist because it's still illegal by the DEA. So I don't believe that I'm allowed to vote on a marijuana ordinance because it's illegal in my profession.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think we have an ordinance already to opt out of all marijuana. So I don't think that when you say move forward to adopt an ordinance, we have an ordinance on file. I think move forward was the wrong language. If we want to consider something different, that may be something else. But right now we're opted out of all marijuana.
We opted out of recreation, we didn't opt out of.
No, we didn't have to opt out of medical. Because if you do nothing, then they can anyway.
It says in the minutes that we have to have both medical and recreational marijuana.
Okay, jumping back to my comment period. Either way, you have to adopt an ordinance to do anything. So whether it's allow medical facilities or opt in to allow them or opt out, regardless, I can do the research, provide you all with information. So that was a question that was posed to me, and that's my response. The DDA is moving their meeting date from next Tuesday to September 10th at 2 p.m. I look forward to having a great discussion about planning for the holiday events coming this fall. And last but not least, later, I should say this afternoon, I got a request from Habitat, who is interested in removing a tree that's right in front of their property, where they're building a house here in Stanton. So I got this afternoon, I ran over, took a look at it, met with the staff who was over there. This is a 2014 photo of the tree that's directly right in front of where the house is going and where a previous home stood. Fast forward, it's kind of hard to see at this point, but there are a few holes that are in the tree. It's a really old maple tree there. And while they're underway with construction, I said, well, Michael is having a commission meeting tonight. I'll run it by you all, get your immediate feedback if you need more time or want to take a closer look at the picture or the tree before I give it okay to remove it. Jamie and I quickly talked about just pros and cons. It is an old tree, old maple tree. Habitat is willing to do the removal or do the trimming. There's no cost to us at the city. like I said, there are holes that are in the tree, there's some dead spots high above. It's not really sacred to us, but I want to get it before you all and give you the okay before I go into a habitat.
And I'm assuming the reason they're asking for permission is because of its distance from the street, that technically, am I correct in that? Because I'm just thinking, I've had a tree cut down and I didn't ask for permission, but it was far enough off the road where it wouldn't have been city's responsibility. So
Yes,
that's why they're.
It's right on the line of the city right away.
Right.
And one of the limbs was overhanging where the home was built. So just thinking, maybe 5-10 years from now, we have a severe winter or storm come through, there's a possibility that something may happen. God forbid it doesn't. But anyway, the city at some point will be doing the trimming work, so it's.
I make a motion to allow Habitat to remove the tree in the right of way in front of the property.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? There you go.
Wrap it up.
The tree guy sitting here thinking, the late see trees go, but it's one musical, so I'm moving it all.
I assume they might be doing some landscaping after they're done and putting something else in anyway.
All right, after that, we have nothing else in new business, correct, Esther? Okay, and on to committee reports. So with Veterans Memorial
Thank you.
Committee Park meeting, actually Veterans Memorial Park Committee update.
What's that? All right, so we had our first reorganizational meeting as me as the chairman last Tuesday. We had 10 committee members that included Buster and myself. We also had 2 special guests, Tom Cright and John Bookwalter. Tom Cright was here to talk about the possibility of the hotel company. They are actually not going to touch that until ground is broken for something. They're not going to ask anybody for donations until it's a done deal. Because so much time has gone on and this has gone nowhere that they got a out of the meeting and I think there was still an hour to go. The meeting was 2 hours before adjourned. Is that how you saw it, Ray and Esther? I mean, they,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
right on that.
They're very firm about they're not asking anyone for donations. We discussed the lease agreement with the school, which expires in April of 2020. So we are going to have to look into renewing that, and I don't know who goes before the board or who talks to Amy Minor about that.
Yeah, I've talked to Amy before about it. I thought she would have been at the meeting, but unfortunately she didn't make it. I can revisit that conversation with her about how do we go about it, you and I or myself.
Yeah, because it's definitely not going to be near completion by April of 2020. So
Right.
we probably should get that done as soon as possible before we move forward, in my opinion. We heavily discussed the line items of the construction costs. And what we had in front of us at the meeting was actually dated February of 19. It wasn't the actual bids that we had discussed back in the June special meeting. But there were a number of points, I mean, probably an hour was just discussed on money savings that could have happened if we could use volunteer work instead of hiring some big shot contractor that's not even local. We also found out that the jail ball field isn't going to be able to be used anymore because that's where the law enforcement memorial is going to go. And by the way, they raised $70,000 in a very short period of time to put that in. So Bill Hardy had been in contact with the county controller, and apparently they're willing to donate all of that, the backstop, the dugouts, everything that's there for that field, they're willing to donate to the city fields. So That could be a significant savings, and at our next meeting, we're gonna go through these things line by line. The biggest thing that was brought up over and over and over was volunteerism, and several members are very concerned about why can't volunteers be used, for instance, for building the dugouts, for clearing the trees. I mean, we understand the major construction, it has to be quality, but there's several things that could be done and save a significant amount of money. One thing that one of the businessmen brought up was the fact that we could spend $10,000 on an insurance rider to save $100,000.
What type of insurance rider?
What's that?
What type of insurance rider?
An insurance rider for the city to be covered in case there was.
Oh, for volunteer labor work.
For volunteer labor work. He suggested that.
Okay, I thought you meant for equipment or something.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we would use chainsaws and that kind of stuff, but I'm not sure as far as excavation, but the point also was brought up to use a local excavating company. The committee really would like more local interest in this, not paying multi-$1,000s to the engineers for them finding us a contractor. So I don't know how we could go about using.
I think the biggest part with the volunteer labor situation earlier was who is then going to organize volunteer labor as far as these are the days we're working, this is who's showing up.
I don't think you know
And
much about
project
the
management.
Central Montcalm Youth League and how organized it is.
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't.
They really are. They take care of the fields right now. They volunteer to, no, Lori, I'm sorry, I'm not, I'm just very frustrated by a lot of things that have happened this past week. So we're already using volunteers to maintain our fields, you know, some of their own equipment. So to ask to do that at the new fields, we just don't understand. Or if there could be some type of waiver, where if you get injured on the property, then that's your fault.
Have you made a list of what you think the volunteers can do and how much time it would take?
Well, we're not gonna waste our time at that if the answer is outright no. I mean, we have a lot that we have to try and accomplish, and to just be flat out right told, no, we're not taking volunteers, we haven't come up with a list.
But, and it's hard to come up with a list also, because you never know what volunteers can look like. It could be, they get, oh, my volunteer to put up a pavilion. That's volunteer. And why, who knows?
Yeah, somebody could volunteer to lay the cement for the pavilion.
We need to get a specific list of what you think the volunteers, I think, what they can do. I mean, I don't have any problem with doing it if we know what it is and if their quality can do with it.
Okay.
But if we're clearing woods, we, you know, how many acres we gotta clear, how many people we need to do that, and how long, making dugouts, I don't know.
So make
If
a
I
list
think a
of
dugout would
what.
never get done.
Well, and actually the volunteers are who built the jail dugouts and did the field. I believe Larry Peterson actually did a lot of that.
When we put those fields, Larry McEwen did those fields, and he ended up doing it all himself.
Okay.
He had volunteers, he had like 40 people there the first day, and after that, he was there, I mean, he did it all work himself physically, and he didn't have a very experienced volunteer, not a different group of people back then, so.
Let's get Larry.
Yeah, so I can send out an email before our next meeting and ask people to come up with a list of what.
Yeah, what do you think you can do, and how many people think it'll take to do it?
That's a good idea.
I think the biggest thing is what you said about you need a itemized list so that you know what you're seeking bids for, what you're gonna try to find volunteers for, and come up with, and see if there's any way what your estimated bottom line is, because ultimately, like, we had a certain amount of money, and we have to make it fit that, or we have to have money promised to us from grant seeking or whatever, but, I mean, we need it to fit the funds, and so if you have that list broken down, and what you know, like, a plan.
And that's where some of the confusion was, because we were provided of phase one ball fields 1 and 2, Veterans Memorial Park improvements from February 11th of 19. So when one person asked, well, how much is the city giving? And we said 200,000. Well, it'll be easy to come up with $93,905. It's like, no,
Well, and some of that
no, no.
200's already been spent.
No, but the bids came in much higher than
Oh,
this.
right.
We weren't given what the actual bids were.
Oh, at that
So-
meeting, okay.
So then when they were given estimates of how much everything was, then it was like, wow, like they had no idea. And that's when it got back to the volunteerism again. So, I mean, let me tell you, some of these committee members, they really gung ho. They want this done. I know some of you don't think that's gonna bring money into the city, but I tell you what, I was in line at McDonald's this past Saturday, after, when there were some football scrimmages. McDonald's told me they were hopping all day because of football scrimmages. Baseball and softball can do that too. I've already told you guys, I spent 4 hours a week in Sheridan because of ball practice, because there wasn't a field available here. That's money spent in Sheridan that I could have spent here. I know the gas stations, I had been into one of the gas stations and they told me they had been really busy. So that's from 2 businesses, just from football scrimmages, on one Saturday.
I don't think that there's an issue like with not wanting the park. It's just, we need a plan that fits that's what the committee needs to do, is like, we need a definite plan to bring us that we can say yes or no to, based on just the financial aspect. I mean, I don't think that there's even a debate that, like, of course we want a park so we can make it happen, and that's the job right now, is to figure out how to make that happen.
Right, and I brainstormed, for multiple days. I was keeping notes and getting ideas from friends, and in Buster's weekly report, he stated Commissioner Thomas shared a long list of fundraiser ideas, but no action was taken to initiate a new fundraiser. Well, it was kind of hard to initiate a new fundraiser when there's nothing been approved. And I provided much more than that. I provided fundraisers, and you can all pass these on down and read them. Funding opportunities, these are just a letter you would have to write to an agency asking for money. And there's already, in the packet that Buster got ready for me, when I initially took over as chairman, there's a form letter already made up.
The reason why that hadn't moved forward is because we didn't have a fiduciary set up in order to take money. So we couldn't send that letter out unless we had an organization that was willing to accept the money on the city's behalf.
And I also suggested to the committee that maybe we should just do one ball field. Do one ball field, do the Veterans Memorial, and build a pavilion. I mean, here's another list that I came up with for that meeting, of saying everything we could do there. This is an entire community of things we could do. It's not just a ball field.
So where are we at with the volunteers? Like, can they do it or can they not? Or I thought it said something about seeking legal advice on.
No, we talked about the waiver form. I have a waiver form, but I also know that it does not completely absolve us of any liability to have a waiver form. And so I can provide that, which I explained that I would provide at the next meeting. We have a list of volunteers, I would love to see them. I have not, and as I explained to the committee, we talked about volunteers. I spoke to Larry McEwen and said, hey, how did that go for you, when you built that ball field? He gave me his insights on it, which was helpful. So I would definitely like to see, volunteers come out and actually have the names. And you're right on about having a list of what could be done. You go back to the drawing board and dissect that list a little bit more. I think having that number in mind of how much we need to fundraise, which we threw out there was $300,000 is the amount that we wanted to fundraise. So cleaner process is to have a fiduciary. You know, I cannot, or I would not advise that I have my staff here at the city taking in donations and also trying to manage city funds. So I've approached the Central Macomb Foundation and said, is this something you all can handle if we divert or direct people to give their money to you all? And long story short, the response I got was, they're not really set up for that. I said, okay, well, let me ask Greenfield Community Foundation. And Greenfield Community Foundation was very adamant about, well, let me back check with Central Macomb Foundation to see if that's okay. You know, I said, I understand when you all's caution, you know, I get that. So they did that and they gave me the response back, yes, we'd be interested in setting something up for you all to take on those donations, but there will be a fee. So I brought that to the committee last week and explained it to them. Didn't really hear too much feedback, I would say, on, yes, let's go for it. You know, so it's still in,
No, it was stated by myself that that's not a good idea. That I
Great.
didn't know anything about that. I
Gotcha.
never heard about, in any of the meetings I'd ever been to, I never heard that we needed a fiduciary. If I knew that my money was just gonna go to the city for the maintenance fund or whatever, I never would have donated over $500 to the park.
it's not for maintenance right now. We have it in safekeeping. I'm talking about $300,000 in donation. That's a little bit higher number that we don't want to have Lori trying to balance and keep track of. I think there's an institution, like I said, the Greenfield Community Foundation, that's what they do. They're good at it. They have several funds. Just be a lot cleaner process for us to have the funds placed there if we want to go out and start fundraising. And to comment on my weekly report statement was that, you know, we're talking about fundraising, great ideas and things like that, but the committee did not take any step to say, this is the one that we want to do. Let's start with this fundraiser. That's what I'm getting at is we never made a decision at that meeting saying this is where we want to start and we're going to have the next meeting to talk about it. That's all it was, is giving a brief update to the commission on what took place at the meeting. And in September, if we have another meeting and we say, all right, we're ready to go, and my update will be, this is our next fundraiser is going to kick off on such and such date, and this is what we're going to do. So in a nutshell, that's where I'm trying to keep the process as clean as possible to make this project happen. In reality, yes, the city commission already has allocated, you know, the $200,000. We've already spent about close to $40,000 just on engineering expense. And before we contact Brian Newhoff and have them come up, every time they come, it's a charge. So I want to stop that process of incurring bills and come up with a solid project. And to date, like I said, the volunteers, great. I love volunteers. You know, they help me out downtown. But I also see those volunteers and they're doing things. I don't want to.
Almost every single one of those around that table were volunteers of some sort. Many of them were coaches. I am a volunteer for many organizations. The Woods is right behind my house. Do you think I wouldn't be out there?
I don't disagree. I think you would be out there. I think it would be a fun time and people
There's
would come out.
another one that does a lot for the veterans. It's her job too, but she also puts in a lot for the veterans. Every single person I
Absolutely.
selected for that
It's
committee.
just a written plan, I think,
Yes.
like, to know, like, oh, this person is willing, if we can give volunteers, this person has spoken for it, this, you know, like a written plan.
But we have to be told that we can have volunteers before we're gonna waste time on that, is what I keep saying. We've heard no, over and over at every single meeting we've had.
Which is why I just asked Esther the question, like, can we?
It was my impression that most of the people sitting around the table would be interested in looking for a contractor that would contract with volunteers and have them submit something to the city that would, you know, then you would have something in writing and somebody to hold accountable if something did go wrong, or have a written agreement. if that was something that the city would look at, then that could be a direction that we could go in.
Is there a list of volunteers for Habitat Humanity? I'd like to know that.
Well, I'm not,
I-
yeah, but you have to put stuff out for a bid. You know, you just can't wait for someone to show up. So, but the volunteer, you know, if we could advertise and say, okay, company ABC is gonna be the construction manager. We won't use the term general contractor, but construction manager for this park project, then, you know, they're putting out a proposal and they wanna get bids. You know, somebody might say, well, I wanna plant the grass, or I wanna do this or that, whatever. But, you know, we need to get a plan together, somewhat of a business plan to approach the city, and I think it'd be a good thing to do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
There was something Vlad brought up, and I keep thinking about it, and I don't want it to get lost. That comment that was made about Green and Newhoff getting a certain percentage of whatever bid that we went with. And it just, obviously, it wouldn't be logical for them to find a super low bid because they're getting paid a percentage instead of a set fee.
And that's what the committee felt.
So I don't know if there's another way to negotiate.
Are you insinuating that they're being immoral about?
No,
I think they
No,
have standards that
They're
they
not
go
looking
by,
local.
but I think,
One of them was
I
Ionia.
wouldn't say
They got
that.
bids out.
One of them was Ionia, and they were one of the higher priced ones.
I think they've gone out, they sought out people, you know, even when I spoke to Connie Newhall, said, hey, you posted here, or you got a contact here. Just to, for example, Maggie's Park, you know, this has been going on and on for a while. And I made phone calls around every roofing company that I could find within Macomb County. No one responded, and that, you know, 3-4 weeks go by and I'm still calling people and no one's taking an interest up until now, you know. So I think folks are busy, they have a lot of other things, and a park project just maybe is not something they're that interested in. You know, I can go back out there and talk to Pioneer Newhall and say, hey, we need to get local or whatever, you know, I mean,
Maybe it would
I don't think we should go with private law. I think we should stay away.
or even like, not that I wasn't saying they were like immoral or anything like that, but it might just work out better in our interest if they took a set fee, because adding that percentage, like all of those costs are, I mean, I don't know, then we could just pay for the work and then pay for
I
anything
think we're
cost.
kidding ourselves if we think we can do this without an engineer. I mean, that's ridiculous.
There's gotta be somebody to oversee.
I have some experience to do it. And everybody, I mean, every building that cities build, counties build, there's an engineer and an architect. You just pay them what they know.
Yeah, but we already paid for all the specifications, it's all there. We have that information. All we have to do now is build the park to their specs.
Well, I think what Chuck is trying to say though is that we need a project manager. Like you were talking about, like not quite a general contractor, but a project manager.
It's the same thing.
Because it's not really, like, in my opinion, it's not Vester's job as city manager to organize, you know, we're gonna cut trees at the park on this day and I need 30 people to be there. That's not really,
I agree.
I mean, that's what I mean by we gotta have someone that's going to head up the volunteer and schedule that stuff. That's the part, because we wanna keep it moving too. Like, it can't just be, oh, 2 people show up this Saturday and a month from now, 1 person shows up. And, I mean, that's what I mean by it's gotta be organized and structured in that sense.
Well, and then doesn't it all have to be like graded to a certain specification so we don't have like drainage issues and
correct.
like, I mean, I feel like that might be above some of our volunteer, I mean, I don't know.
Right. But again, we're talking specific jobs we can get volunteered
Right.
and not certain ones.
I think we paid Green Newhoff to stake the park. Should have been staked already. We were supposed to mark the trees and stake the park. It was ordered.
Yeah, they can go back out there and do that. I talked to Kevin about it, he said, but you want kind of changed the plan again, and so they put that on hold, but if we want them to go back out there and, you know, actually stake the trees, they will go and do that. Definitely an issue with grading, you know, we have homes over there, businesses. The city would be on the hook if something were to go awry and someone's getting water, if something wasn't graded correctly. Those are some of the things that I think about as a city manager when we talk about what we want volunteers going out there doing. Also, reminders, lease property, so the school is going to hold us liable as well. So this is some of the things that are just concerns that I just feel like it has to be done a certain way. That it will just cause great concern. But putting together a list of what volunteers could do, and it sounds like a great idea.
Or you can do itemize that list and then you can put out some feelers with local companies who might do it for discounted rate, you know, come in with their own trees or.
Right, I think we're going to end up back where we were with bidding, you know, Isabella Corporation, they're going to have to subcontract with certain businesses or to do certain parts of the park. I think ultimately is what is the city commission feeling about spending more than $200,000 on the park, or with the numbers that we've gotten, that was out, it was bidded on. If it's $400,000, $500,000, and you're okay with it, I think.
How could an engineering company be so far off on the numbers? That's what we wanted to know.
Not sure, I definitely can
Maybe
have.
we're changing,
Devin
did you
give
tell
you-
them we're changing the plans because your numbers were so far off? That's why we're changing the plans again, is because of their numbers.
Well, and we went forward towards developing more because of their numbers. And we thought there was going to be X amount of cost, and it ended up being double. So,
So is anything above $200,000, like, too much? Anything above $500,000, too much?
I think we need to come up with a business plan to approach the city. Before we put a dollar amount on it, I don't think that would be fair. Well, we could, and then if we miss it by 100%, it'd be okay.
Let me just tell you something, I went to the dentist yesterday. My dentist said that A Foundation saw Brandon's article in the paper from July, and they're already they've already asked the attorneys how much they can give.
Sure, there's a lot of them.
So, it's not just our community that wants it. And so there's money out there, we just can't guarantee how much, because we can't start asking until we make a decision. Until we come up with the final plan of what we're gonna do. But I will close out by saying, there's a lot of life lessons learned from baseball and softball. Teamwork, work ethic, dealing with pressure and managing emotions, how to deal with people and meet new people, such as new opponents and new teams. They strive for success and learn how to accept how to lose. They also learn that life isn't fair, because sometimes even if they're a good player, they have to sit the bench because maybe the coach's child is on that team. They learn that life isn't fair when it was obviously a ball, and it was called a strike. They learn how to deal with adversity. There's no perfect conditions involved. The weather's not always perfect, the umpire's not perfect, the players aren't perfect, coaches aren't perfect. They learn about dedication. You know, they have to practice, and then they have their games. And, like for my daughter, she started in April and finished in the middle of July. That was at least 8 to 10 hours a week where she wasn't walking the streets getting into trouble. Playing video games. watching
She
TV.
was tough for herself.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. On to public comments.
Okay. One more time. The veterans facility, or the park, I'm hoping everybody's they could offer a lot to volunteers and through maybe possibly even handling the money, I don't know. But possibly in doing it for free. I'm helping out a little bit with the park and Belding right now. They're doing some new memorials for the 1037 out of Greenville. And they're pretty organized with what they're doing, but they started out really slow and they just built and built and built. And you guys are starting out with a really big project here, ball diamonds and everything else. But as they developed their memorial and other people got involved, the grocery store put the child's park in behind it, the skate park, excuse me. So all the companies started to get involved and start donating their time to put their signs next to the memorial. So I think that's something that could be, you know, possibly down the road, like you said, one ballpark, maybe enough to start with, just to get going, future plans, because it's a big thing to bite off. And as volunteers, I listened to all the talk about volunteers, maybe it would be a great list of people of jobs that you can't volunteer for. Like electricians, who's gonna have to wire the lighting, bulldozer operators. I sure don't wanna be out there making your ball diamond, because I don't know how to run a bulldozer. And that kind of work, and backhoe and stuff like that. Now, maybe there are volunteers that have that experience, but have they ever built a ball diamond? I don't know. I sure don't want a ball diamond to look like the one in the back when it gets wet. I want it to be a respectable place for our veterans and our kids to play and respect it. So those are just a couple of my ideas. And then I want to get back to one other thing on the marijuana issues. Are we in or out? I know we're out on recreational. What have we done on medical? I was assuming you guys weren't opted out yet because that would have probably been done. Medical was here for 12 years. Recreational has only been here a little while. And I don't, did you do that in the same vote on this, and had it written that way for medical clinic? So that is for sure, medical's out too.
I don't think the ordinance actually speaks.
I haven't seen it. Could I get a copy of that maybe tomorrow? Is that possible? Of your ordinance? The reason I'm here today is because, again, I'm here because a couple of business owners that own businesses in the street, and I've talked to just about everybody in the city, and they're ready to move forward with some type of plan from you people on these issues. And I've had nearly 0 no's, 1 or 2 complaints, schools, kids, but basically nobody's really complaining and looking forward to seeing some new development and new growth in this town. And that's the reason I'm here, and I was hoping that we could get it brought back up, maybe do a survey similar to what Mount Township is doing, whatever the council may want to do. But that's the reason I'm here. And I enjoyed the meeting tonight. I want to thank you all for your time. Have a nice night.
Thanks, Dave. Commissioner comments? Anyone?
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Back in January, Daily News put has an article in the paper said the city of Stanton commission votes 4-2 to opt out of recreational marijuana. For medical marijuana, the city voted at 52% against medical marijuana, and as far as I know, that's a stance thing. In our minutes, I imagine it's the minutes of January, it says that we opted out of medical and recreational marijuana. So I'd just like to put this to bed. This is where we're at. And Chuck's got a nice picture in the page.
And I would like to make a comment as well, because to my recollection of what happened in January, we did pass an ordinance with explicit desire to make sure that nothing will happen without authorization from commissioners. So no businesses will be able to come in. But it was done on the condition that once Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Commission will put out guidelines, like we promised to do sometime later down the road, we will meet and we will actually have a discussion about all the pros, all the cons, and we'll make final determination at that time and have a discussion about the topic. Because I believe at that time we only did it to basically provide some sort of level of security for the city to make sure nothing will happen before we have it.
Well, back in May, we had that discussion again, and there was.
Point of order. I mean, this is a comment time. We don't have we're having a discussion here. I think you made your comments, and he can make it, but I don't want to, I don't think any arguments going back and forth, we do it is, we, glad to make a
I
statement.
didn't mean to be arguing.
And I guess I would like to finish
But-
by saying, I would
yeah,
like to stick to the
individual
original
comments
plan.
and then-
We do need to meet with the work session once state will provide us with the guidelines as to know what the process will look like.
Any other commissioner comments?
I really don't know if I can request this or not, but if there's any citations issued or about to be issued for the lawn maintenance, you know, letting them go too much, I'd like to personally be letting them know that. I was in that position a couple of different summers where my husband was very, very sick and was in the hospital. Mike Mazzola mowed my lawn, the sheriff mowed my lawn. I had several other firms that mowed my lawn. You know, I don't know if these people have reasons for not mowing their lawn, but I have 2 lawnmowers. My daughter can hop on one, and I can hop on another. So, I don't know if it's public information or if you can give to a commissioner.
I don't understand what you're requesting.
Before a citation is issued to someone for not mowing their lawn, I would like to know so that I could mow their lawn. Because I've been in a position where I couldn't mow my lawn, but I had friends and family that mowed the lawn for me.
Are you asking about what our process is for people that have their lawns that are too long?
Right, she's
They're
asking that
giving
if someone's
tickets.
about to get a ticket, she would like to know
Who are
because
they?
she would help.
You might want to mow their lawn.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, chief?
We don't issue citations for that. Once they get 12 inches, Gene just moves
Right, but then isn't that put on their tax bill or they?
$75.
They're invoiced, $75. So that's what I'm saying.
So you want to say that more, or it needs to be 12 inches?
Exactly. $75 to someone's lot.
Sure is.
I know that personally, I went 4 months without working last summer.
Are there any other commissioner comments? All right, before we adjourn, I would just like to thank Mary for taking on the Veterans Memorial Park, because it is a lot of responsibility and a lot of undertaking and a lot of back work. So thank you very much.
I have a question, just to clarify. So, to Commissioner Ellen's comments, are you all ready for a work session? Does everyone feel comfortable? They have enough time or information to have a work session?
I think that, in my opinion, we discussed it again in May. If you want to have another discussion, I think it's fine, but I think it should be a discussion not just on the pros, you know,
Oh, no, it's
could,
gonna be both ways.
it should be on, and have representatives here to maybe educate us in both directions.
I think we were going to have a work session.
Vlad also needs to make sure that, we need to make sure that Commissioner Edelman answers, since it was directed towards him.
Specifically, my point was that the reason we didn't have it yet, because we were waiting on the state of Michigan. to give
Right.
us the
and
guidelines,
since
and
it's been-
I don't know if it's out yet.
Yeah, it's out, and so on that, when you're pointing about
Mhm.
having another work session, I want to know if everyone is comfortable with their understanding of what's out there, all the information that's been prepared. If you all want to have a work session, I can definitely set that up for the next meeting or second meeting in September, whatever your fancy is, I can make that happen.
I thought that, like, this whole thing is murky because I do think that the ordinance, I don't see it on here yet, but, I think it said recreational, and I think, like, I know, like, Chuck and I have also thought too that maybe we didn't do anything about the medical, and that's what we had asked for a work session about to discuss the medical, and then you did send us some really helpful information, and then we just never had a work session to talk about it as commissioners, because we've heard from people, we've heard from people pro, people against, like, we've heard all of that, but we've never sat down to just really hash it out amongst ourselves. And that's what you see, like, people are getting into right here during public comment. Like, we need a time to just sit and hash this out about medical. We don't have the regulations yet for recreational, but I don't, and I think we're in disagreement about whether that ordinance covers recreational or whether it's all.
Well, the minute says it's recreational and,
But the
But
ordinance
the
only
ordinance
states
is what we
recreational.
have on file, the minutes,
well,
They might
the
have-
ordinance should follow what we had in the minutes.
We voted on the specific ordinance that was in front of us, not based off what was said in the minutes. So I think at this time, maybe Buster, in your weekly, you confirm that the ordinance states what it states and maybe send out another copy of it, or at least the link so we can get it on the city website.
yeah.
And it sounds to me like for the majority, they're ready for a work session to talk about medical, but we do need to find out about Mary's legal obligations due to her profession as well. Or, you know, as far as
Yeah, it was-
actually voting
It was pointed out to me
by employer.
not
Or,
her,
but-
but another pharmacist.
Yeah,
Well, she can abstain.
right. I just don't know if it would affect her to be available for the work session.
We don't vote in a work session anyway, it's just a matter of.
No, I understand that, but I just,
But it's still discussing something that's DEA.
If we have work,
I don't know, that's why I'm saying, I think we need legal counsel, for what I can do as a pharmacist, when it's illegal to federal law.
when we have a work session, I think it'd be better not to have it just an hour before the regular meeting, but the meeting gotta be
it's almost separate.
its own separate night, but we're gonna be calling splits in an hour and talk a lot about it, and talk a lot about it.
I don't know what the feelings are. Is it better to separate them out and talk say one night about medical and then separately talk about recreational, or is it better to talk about together?
Well, the thing about medical, now that, the medical, as far as my understanding of what's out there now, is if someone gets a medical license, wherever it may be, and, you know, the recreational is gonna end up being cheaper than what the medical is usually, I mean, because they have to,
Well, remember, we need to be
They have-
very careful not to have a discussion about the actual issues, just
That's what we're-
if we want to have the work session for one or to both at the
I
same
understand,
time.
but what I'm
Yes
saying-
or no?
What I'm saying is that the medical, if they decide that they want to change to recreational, they have a preference over everybody else.
But it also depends on what the city ordinance states. They can't turn to recreational if we don't allow it. But again, that's for a work session discussion, not for,
So are we setting a work session on a different day? Is
Yeah.
that what?
and do we want to discuss both or one singularly?
I don't think this was on tonight's agenda.
Got it.
All right,
Very-
thank you.
Can I ask, like, I was curious what Dave was gonna say, can I ask?
Montcalm County, or township, it actually only is opting into medical. They're not allowing any recreation.
And then what were
They
you gonna
haven't
say
taken
to
any
his
action
comment?
yet, though.
At this present time, they could also change their ordinance at any time to allow recreational if they wanted to. But at this present time, that's the only
I
issue.
thought you were gonna address what Ray was saying,
Oh,
about if somebody can flip, if it's not.
that's what I was saying, without your authorization, nobody can go from medical to recreational, no matter what the state says. You have to have